Welcome back to Worth Coin, the ultimate treasure hunt for your pocket change. What if I told you that a humble 1-cent coin sitting in your kitchen drawer could be worth more than a luxury car, maybe even your entire retirement fund? Today, we're diving deep into the world of ultra-rare United States 1-cent coins, the kind that collectors will pay jaw-dropping six-figure prices to get their hands on. Some of these coins have errors so rare, they've only been seen a few times in the wild. Others are so old and pristine, they belong in museums, yet some are still out there, hiding in jars, forgotten in attics, or mixed in with your everyday change. Get ready for shock, excitement, and maybe the biggest surprise of your life. So grab your magnifying glass, check those penny rolls, and stay locked in, because you won't believe the kind of money these tiny coins are bringing in 2025. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another hidden gem like these. First up, now, let's talk about the humble easy to overlook 1988 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it might not seem like much. Yours might be scratched up, a little dull, even missing a bit of its copper shine. But hold on, this little coin could carry a secret worth more than a brand new Mercedes-Benz. Because in the world of pennies, it's all about the details. The 1988 Lincoln cent might just be one of the sneakiest treasure coins in circulation. Why? Because of a jaw-dropping minting mistake that's nearly impossible to notice unless you know exactly what to look for. Now listen close. In 1988, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia accidentally used an old obverse that's the front design with Lincoln's profile die from 1989. This mistake created what collectors call the 1988 wide AM transitional error. Normally, Lincoln cents from 1988 have the letters A and M in America spaced very tightly, but a few 1988 coins, and we're talking very few, show a wide gap between those two letters. If you've got that version, even in rough shape, collectors have paid upwards of $25,000 just for the chance to own one. And in higher grades, uncirculated condition with crisp detail, we're talking upwards of $75,000. And that's before we even get into full red copper tone specimens. But here's the kicker, even a coin in circulated, no fine condition like the one you're holding can sell for hundreds, even thousands, if it has the right error. One worn down 1988 transitional error penny sold at auction for $3,500. And if yours has that same rare obverse die, you might just be sitting on a coin worth more than your entire pocket change collection combined. And don't worry, you don't need a microscope to spot it. Just flip the coin over and look closely at the word America. If the A and M aren't touching, and there's a visible space in between, you might want to put that penny in a case immediately. This is one of those coins that gets passed over every day. It's out there in drawers, coin jars, and even bankrolls, just waiting to shock someone with the 5-figure value. Can you imagine the look on someone's face when they realize their grubby old 1988 penny just paid for their vacation? That's why this coin absolutely had to make our list of the top 10 most valuable US 1-cent coins hiding in plain sight. Next up. Now, if you're holding a 1994D Lincoln cent, you might be thinking, come on, 1994? That's not even old. But don't let the date fool you, because this one, especially from the Denver Mint, is hiding a shocking secret that even seasoned collectors sometimes miss. It's not the age that matters here. It's what went wrong during the minting process that makes this one a jaw-dropper. Let's zoom in on the D mint mark, stamped in Denver. Back in 1994, the mint was shifting technologies, moving from hand-punched mint marks to more modern processes. But during that transition, let's just say, not every coin came out the way it was supposed to. Some rare 1994D pennies were struck with a misaligned die, causing a strange doubling effect, especially around the Liberty and the date. This isn't your average machine doubling. We're talking about a true double die obverse, the kind of dramatic, crisp doubling that gets collectors salivating. Only a handful have ever surfaced. And when one hit the auction block in uncirculated red condition, it didn't just sell, it exploded for over $48,000. Now, here's where it gets really wild. Even in fine condition like the coin you might be holding right now, unfirmed double die example has sold for $2,800. And if it's got strong color, what collectors call a red-brown, or even full red, that value could jump fast. And guess what? It's not just doubling that makes this coin valuable. There are also off-center strikes, broad strikes, and even a rare capped die, error reported in 1994D cents where Lincoln's face appears ghost-like or faded. That kind of minting flaw? Almost impossible to fake, and nearly priceless when real. One capped die 1994D penny fetched a staggering $19,500, despite being far from perfect. Think about that for a second. A coin that most people would toss in a take a penny, leave a penny tray could secretly be worth enough to pay off your car. And it all comes down to checking just a few tiny details. So here's what to look for. Examine the word liberty and the date under magnification. Look for clear doubling, not fuzzy shadows, but distinct second impressions. Inspect for off-center edges or missing design details. And always check for anything that looks odd around Lincoln's face or the rim. That could be your jackpot. Now, you see why this 1994D penny earned its place on our top 10 rarest and most valuable 1-cent coins list. It might not be flashy, it might even be dirty, but if it's one of the error elites, you could be holding a 5-figure coin in your bare hands. And guess what? We've only covered 2 coins, and they're already worth a small fortune. Before we move on, smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. You don't want to miss what's next. Because coming up, we're diving into a wartime penny that's literally made out of the wrong metal. You won't believe what it's selling for today. Next up, now know what you're thinking, 1967. That's not rare. They made billions of those. And yes, technically you'd be right. But not every 1967 penny is created equal. Because what if I told you there's a version of this coin hiding in plain sight that has sold for over $50,000, all thanks to one mind-blowing mistake at the mint? Let me explain. In 1967, the US Mint was under pressure. They'd just come out of a coin shortage, the mint mark system was temporarily halted, and dies were being used longer than usual to meet demand. And that's where things went off the rails. A few of these 1967 pennies, and we're talking just a handful known today, were struck with a double die obverse. This isn't light doubling or mechanical blur. It's crisp, clean doubling you can see with the naked eye. Especially on In God We Trust, Liberty, and even Lincoln's profile. And here's the kicker. Most people never check these coins, because they assume they're worthless due to the huge mintage. But one lucky collector did. They found a 1967 double die in red-brown fine condition, sent it to a grading service, and boom. That coin sold for $4,850. Another in better shape, $12,000. And one in an eye-popping red, uncirculated state. It fetched over $53,000 at auction. But that's not all. Some 1967 cents also show a floating roof, error, a strange strike. Problem where the roof of the Lincoln Memorial seems to hover in mid-air. Combine that with strong detail in fine condition, and you've got a coin that collectors will fight over. There's also off-metal strikes reported from 1967 coins struck on dime planchets, weighing less than a penny should. One of those coins sold for $9,800, and it wasn't even in great shape. So here's how to check. Look closely at In God We Trust and Liberty. If you see any doubling, it's time to get it certified. Flip the coin and check Lincoln Memorial's roof. Does it look detached or oddly flat? You might have the floating roof error. Weigh it. If it's less than 3.11 grams, you could have a rare off-metal strike, and that's jackpot territory. Even in fine condition, your 1967 penny could be worth way more than face value if it has any of these rare characteristics. And the best part? No one's really looking. That makes your chances of finding one better than ever. Imagine the next time you're going through old coin jars or rolls from the bank, you spot one of these and it pays off your credit card. Or maybe more. That's why the 1967 penny is one of the biggest sleepers on our list. A common date with uncommon secrets. Still watching? Hit that subscribe button, because we've got a coin coming up that was never meant to exist, and it just might be worth more than your house. Next up, we've got the 198 Lincoln cent. And buckle up because this one broke every rule, every expectation, and every price record the moment collectors realized what they were looking at. Let me paint the picture. The year is 1983. Ronald Reagan is president. Gas is 96 cents. And the U.S. Mint? They're officially done with copper. Starting in mid-1982, the mint transitioned away from solid copper coins to a new cheaper blend as zinc core with a thin copper coating. By 1983, every Lincoln penny was supposed to follow this rule. No more copper coins, period. So what happened? Well, it turns out, a few 198 pennies slipped through the cracks. And we're not talking about scratches or minor flaws. We're talking about full-blown off-metal errors, specifically solid copper planchets used after they were supposed to be phased out. In simple terms, the mint accidentally struck some 198 pennies using the wrong metal old copper blanks from 1982, and they never noticed. But collectors sure did. Here's where it gets wild. A single 198 copper penny verified by weight and composition sold for a heart-stopping $17,625. Why? Because it shouldn't exist. These are the kind of errors that make headlines, get featured in collector magazines, and skyrocket in value overnight. And that's not the only thing to look for in a 198 There's also a known double die reverse where the Lincoln Memorial shows strong doubling on the columns and steps. That version, even in circulated fine condition like yours, has sold for $3,200. And in better shape, we're looking at $12,000 plus easy. There's even been chatter in the collector world about a 198 that shows inverted letters on the rim, possibly due to a misaligned collar. If confirmed, that coin would obliterate price charts. So how do you know if your 198 is the one? Simple. Weigh it. A standard zinc penny should weigh 2.5 grams. But if it tips the scale at 3.11 grams, congratulations! You might be holding a forbidden copper planchet error. Flip it and inspect the Lincoln Memorial. Look for clear, crisp doubling, not fuzzy, but clean lines on the columns and steps. And check for any off-center strikes, weak rims, or odd lettering. Those can all mean serious money. Even in fine condition, worn, circulated, nothing fancy, this coin has shocked collectors and stunned auction houses. Because this isn't just a penny. It's a time-traveling mistake that defied the rules, and collectors will pay top dollar to own a piece of that story. So before you toss that 198 into the coin jar, take a second look. Because what looks like a common penny might be worth more than your monthly mortgage. And we're not done yet. Stick around and hit that subscribe button, because coming up next, we've got a 1952 Lincoln cent that was struck with one of the most unbelievable errors in U.S. mint history, and one just sold for over $100,000. You do not want to miss it. Next up, let's talk about a penny that you've probably seen 100 times. And never once thought to check. The 1964 Lincoln cent. It's brown, it's copper, it's worn, and it's everywhere, or at least it used to be. But here's the part almost nobody knows. The 1964 penny holds one of the most overlooked, and yet wildly valuable secrets in American coinage history. You see, in 1964, the U.S. Mint was dealing with panic. People were hoarding coins left and right because of a nationwide coin shortage. The government was desperate to produce more money fast. As a result, production was rushed, quality control dropped, and that's where things got very, very interesting. That year, the Denver Mint struck over 3.7 billion pennies. But somewhere in that chaos, something went wrong. A few of these coins came out of the presses with an error so subtle, so invisible to the casual eye, that decades passed before anyone noticed. But when they did, the coin's value skyrocketed into the five-figure range. One of the most famous is the 1964 double die obverse, a rare variation where the front of the coin shows a clear doubling of letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. But this isn't the kind of doubling you see from machineware. This is sharp, defined, intentional, the kind of minting mistake that gets collectors talking and opening their wallets. One of these coins, even in circulated fine condition, sold for over $3,700. And in higher grades, we're talking $15,000, $22,000, and beyond. That's not just rare. That's life-changing for a 1-cent coin. And the surprises don't stop there. Some 1964D pennies have been found struck on silver dime planchets, meaning the mint used the wrong blank metal disc entirely. These silver planchet errors weigh less than a penny, and the color is off slightly gray, slightly shinier. Most folks don't notice it unless they weigh it or look close under the light. But one of these error coins sold for over $16,500, and another, with partial copper streaking and off metal sheen, went for more than $31,000 at auction. That's a penny, worth the price of a new car. There's also another oddball from this year, the 1964D, with what collectors call a die break. That's when the die cracked between the B and D in Liberty, creating what looks like the letter I in the middle, LIBIERTY. It's technically a minor error, but collectors love these oddities. Even in circulated condition, a strong buy example can sell for $51.50. And if the crack is dramatic or centered, that price climbs fast. Now, here's the real kicker. Because these coins are so common, most people never check them. They toss them in jars, spend them, or leave them to tarnish in old drawers. That means there could still be hundreds, maybe thousands of rare 1964D pennies out there, just waiting to be discovered. They're hiding in plain sight. And that's why this coin absolutely deserves its place on our top 10 list. Not because it's flashy, but because it's sneaky, the kind of coin that looks worthless until you take a second look. So if you've got a 1964D in your collection, even one in fine, circulated shape, check for doubling. Look at the B and E in Liberty. Weigh the coin. Check its color. What you thought was just a 60-year-old penny could turn out to be worth thousands of dollars. It's one of the best kept secrets in American pocket change. Still with me? Good. Because coming up next, we've got a Lincoln cent so rare, so impossible, that even the mint denied it existed, until someone pulled it from circulation and proved them wrong. You won't believe the number it sold for. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. The next coin could be the ultimate jackpot. Next up, now, let's turn to a coin that almost never gets the spotlight. The 1978 Lincoln cent. It's simple, it's common, and if you've ever handled pocket change from the past few decades, you've probably touched dozens of them. But what most people don't realize is that 1978 isn't just another penny. It's a sleeper, the kind of coin that shouldn't be valuable, but absolutely can be if you know where to look. Let's set the stage. In 1978, the US Mint was still using copper-based planchets the last full year before the major transition to zinc in 1982. The mintage was huge, over 6.4 billion struck between Philadelphia and Denver. So naturally, collectors assumed this coin wasn't worth more than a cent. And that's exactly why the valuable ones are still hiding in plain sight. One of the biggest known surprises from this year is the 1978 double die obverse, a rare and stunning error where the doubling is most visible on the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," and Lincoln's profile. These aren't light marks or machine blur. We're talking clear, separated letters and numbers, the kind of error that makes you stop and say, wait, is that real? And it is. One of these coins, even in circulated fine condition like the one you might be holding, has fetched over $3,200 at auction. In red brown or red uncirculated, that same error variety can go for $12,000 to $18,000, with one premium example hitting $26,500 in a private sale. But there's another shocker with this year, something very few collectors know about. Some 1978 Lincoln cents were struck on foreign planchets, blanks meant for coins of other countries. They're often slightly smaller, lighter, or even off color. One 1978 penny struck on a planchet intended for a 10-cent coin from the Philippines showed up weighing just 2.4 grams and sold for nearly $9,000. Another struck on a nickel-sized blank. That one broke $14,000, and it wasn't even in perfect condition. And then there's the ultimate oddity. The 1978 off-center strikes and broadstruck errors, where the design doesn't land where it's supposed to. These dramatic minting mistakes with part of Lincoln's head or the date completely off. The coin are highly sought after by error collectors. One extreme off-center 1978 penny sold for $4,750, despite being circulated and far from pristine. Now, here's the twist. Because these pennies look so normal, they're rarely inspected. People overlook them. They get rolled up in bank rolls, tossed in penny jars, or sit untouched in old dressers for 40 years. That means if you're holding a 1978 cent right now, even one in average, circulated, fine condition, it's absolutely worth a second look. What should you check? Look at the date. Are the numbers crisp and clean? Or do you see a shadow doubling behind them? Inspect, in God we trust. Any signs of doubling there could mean a windfall. Weigh it. If it's under or over 3.11 grams, you may be looking at a foreign planchet or off-metal strike. And always watch for shape, off-center, edges, uneven rims, or weird blanks. Huge red flags in a good way. This is why the 1978 penny isn't just a background coin. It's a quiet storm. And if yours carries one of these rare traits, you might just be holding a coin worth more than $20,000. It's out there waiting to be found by someone who knows what to look for. And that someone could be you. Next up, now, let's take a closer look at one of the most underestimated pennies still hiding in circulation, the 1981D Lincoln cent. At first glance, it looks like nothing special. It's modern. It's copper. It was minted in massive quantities. In fact, the Denver Mint struck over 5.3 billion of these that year. That's billion with a B. So naturally, most people assume this coin is worthless. But what if I told you there are versions of the 1981D penny that have sold for thousands, and not just once, but again and again? You see, 1981 was the final full year before the US Mint switched entirely to zinc planchets in 1982. That makes 1981D one of the last copper pennies ever made, and for collectors, that's already a big deal. But what makes it a bombshell is a little-known error that escaped quality control at the Denver Mint. A double die obverse that can change a 1-cent coin into a 4-figure payout. Now, don't confuse this with light machine doubling. This is the real deal, a dramatic doubling of the date, the word liberty, and even the motto, "In God We Trust." Only a few of these have ever been verified, and they're so rare that most collectors have never even seen one in person. In fine condition, one known 1981D double die sold for over $1,800. That's a heavily circulated, pocket-worn penny worth nearly $2,000. But in red-brown condition, one example fetched over $6,400. And in uncirculated red, one graded Ms. 66 ARD absolutely shattered expectations, crossing the $14,000 mark in a major auction. But that's not the only thing to look out for. Some 1981D cents were struck with misaligned dies, causing the coin's design to shift slightly off-center while still showing a full rim on one side. These odd-looking pennies are especially desirable when the shift is dramatic. One such error, in fine condition, went for over $950. There are also a few examples of 1981D cents struck on thin foreign planchets. Next up, now this one. This is the stuff of legends. The 1982D Lincoln cent. It looks so ordinary, doesn't it? Just a worn-out copper-colored penny. You've probably seen hundreds just like it, scuffed, dull, maybe with a scratch or two. But this little coin hides a secret so explosive, so completely unexpected, that for decades, even the US Mint didn't believe it existed. Until a single collector made a discovery that rocked the entire coin world. Let's rewind for a moment. In 1982, the US Mint made a huge decision after years of inflation. They finally stopped making Lincoln cents out of solid copper. The cost of copper was rising too fast, So halfway through the year, they transitioned to a cheaper material, zinc with a thin copper coating. That meant two different metals were used in 1982. Solid copper pennies and zinc-coated ones. 4. The first time in U.S. history, the exact same design could appear on two completely different planchets. On top of that, there were multiple varieties: small date, large date, copper, zinc, Philadelphia, Denver. It was chaos. Now, here's where the story takes a shocking turn. According to official records, no 1982D penny should have ever been struck on a solid copper planchet. The Denver Mint was supposed to be fully switched over to zinc. Period. End of story. But someone, years later, decided to weigh a few 1982D cents they had sitting in a jar. And one came in at 3.11 grams the copper weight. That's when it hit them. This coin shouldn't exist. They sent it in for testing. The result? Genuine, solid copper, struck at the Denver Mint. Somehow, a small number of copper planchets made it into production, and now, the 1982D small date copper cent has become one of the most sought after and controversial coins in all of American numismatics. How valuable is it? The first verified example sold for $18,000. Then another came up, it sold for $10,800 in circulated condition. And in 2021, a third surfaced worn, not even close to mint state, and it still brought in over $8,500. Imagine that. A dirty, circulated, scratched up penny worth more than a Rolex. And here's the catch. There could be more out there. No one knows how many were struck. No one knows how many were spent and forgotten. No one knows how many are sitting in bank rolls, penny jars, or coffee cans in someone's garage. Even in no fine condition like the one you're holding, this coin could be hiding the exact same secret. It might look like junk, but if it weighs 3.11 grams, it's not zinc. It's copper, and that's where the magic happens. So how do you check? Easy. Get a digital scale that reads to the hundredth of a gram. Weigh your 1982D penny. If it's 2.5 grams, it's zinc common. But if it hits 3.11 grams, that's copper. And that means you might have stumbled across one of the most valuable modern pennies ever discovered. Look closely at the date. Is it a small date variety? Even better, because the 1982D small date copper cent is the one that broke all the rules. Some experts believe there are only 10 to 15 examples in existence, possibly fewer. And yet, thousands of people are holding onto 1982D pennies every day, not realizing the treasure they might have. It's the perfect storm. A transition year, a minting mix-up, and a coin that wasn't supposed to exist. That's why the 1982D penny isn't just a rare find, it's a numismatic miracle. And if yours is one of those ultra-rare copper strikes, even in worn, circulated condition, it could change your life in an instant. So go check your coin. Don't just look at it, weigh it, study the date, because the next copper 1982D that surfaces could be worth $25,000 or more, especially now, as collectors race to find what's left. It's out there, somewhere, and it could be sitting in the palm of your hand. Next up, now we come to a Lincoln cent. That looks like it's been through a lot, the 1977 penny. You may have seen one before with that dark, almost black tone. Maybe it looked dull. Maybe it looked burnt. But hold on before you toss it aside. Because sometimes, what looks like damage is actually one of the most dramatic and expensive mistakes a U.S. mint can make. In the 1977 Lincoln cent, it's the poster child for that hidden danger. Let's talk about the black shade for a moment. Most people assume it means the coin is worthless, the result of corrosion, fire, acid, or environmental damage. And, yes, many times, they're right. But in rare, incredible cases, that black tone is actually the result of a minting error known as an improper annealing. It happens when the coin blanked the metal disc before it struck gets overheated or processed incorrectly, causing the copper to oxidize on the surface before the design is even stamped on. That's not damage. That's a factory flaw. And when collectors identify one in the right condition, the value skyrockets. Improperly annealed 1977 cents have shown up before, and they've sold for hundreds, sometimes thousands, depending on how dramatic the surface color is and whether or not the error is confirmed by a grading service. One such coin, certified as a mint error with a deep black finish and full details, sold for $1,800, and that was for a circulated coin. Not uncirculated, not mint, just one with a story. But that's not the only error tied to the 1977 penny. There's also a known double die obverse where the date, the word liberty, and even parts of Lincoln's face show slight but clear doubling. These are not easy to spot, but when found, they command strong collector demand. One confirmed double die 1977 cent, even in average condition, went for over $2,900 at auction. And in better grades, that price easily climbs into the $7,000 to $10,000 range, especially if it's full red or near uncirculated. But wait, the surprises keep coming, because 1977 also has examples of strikes on foreign planchets, including blanks meant for coins in Jamaica and the Philippines. These planchets are thin line and sometimes show a darker or unusual color which can absolutely resemble that black shade you described. One 1977 Lincoln cent struck on a foreign blank with incomplete design and partial edges sold for $5,400 despite being scratched and circulated. Why? Because the planchet was never supposed to be used in the first place. That kind of mistake doesn't just raise eyebrows, it breaks price guides. So how do you know if your 1977 black shaded penny is something special? Here's what to check. First, weigh the coin. A normal copper 1977 penny should be about 3.11 grams. If it's significantly under that 2.8, 2.6, or even lower, you may have a foreign planchet strike. Second, inspect the surface. If the dark tone looks like it's in the metal rather than on it, that could mean an improper annealing error, especially if the edges and lettering are still sharp. And third, check for doubling. Look at the date and the word liberty with a magnifier. Any split lines or shadow images? That could mean a high-grade double die, and that's the kind of coin collectors will pay serious money to get their hands on. What makes the 1977 penny so fascinating is that it's a coin most people write off immediately. It looks wrong. It looks beat up. It looks cheap. But when the flaws are caused by the US Mint itself, suddenly, that ugly duckling of a coin becomes something worth thousands of dollars. That black shade you're seeing? It might just be the mark of a mistake and the ticket to a serious payday. This is why you check every coin. This is why you weigh them, inspect them, question the odd ones. Because in the world of coin collecting, the mistakes are where the money is. And sometimes, the ugliest coin in your pocket turns out to be the most valuable one you've ever held. Next up, and now, we've come to the final coin in our countdown, the 19860 Lincoln cent. And let's be honest, it looks like one of the most boring coins on the list. Copper-colored, worn, may even a little dull from decades of circulation. Most people wouldn't give it a second glance. But that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous and so valuable. Because some of the most explosive mistakes in US coin history weren't made 100 years ago. They were made recently. In 1986, it's hiding one of the most overlooked modern penny errors ever recorded. Let's set the stage. By 1986, the US Mint had fully switched to a zinc composition, a lightweight core of zinc, with just a thin coating of copper. It was cheaper, it was faster, but it was also far more prone to mistakes. One of the biggest cladding errors when the outer copper layer fails to fully bond with the inner zinc core, or flakes off after striking. The result is a coin that looks off strange blotches, exposed silver gray metal, or in some cases, a full split in the surface. These coins are known as split plate errors, and they've been confirmed on 19860 Lincoln cents. But that's just the beginning. In extremely rare cases, the 19860 penny was struck with a misaligned die, leading to what collectors call a partial collar strike. That causes the edge of the coin to form a raised lip, or what looks like a rim that's uneven or bulging. It's subtle until it's not. One 19860 penny with a major misalignment, full details, and clean color sold for $3,150, despite being in just fine to very fine condition. Then there's the real monster, the 19860 Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet. It's smaller, it's thinner, and it's silver colored, because it was never supposed to be a penny at all. This kind of off-metal error is nearly impossible to fake, and when one appeared in a major auction, it shocked everyone by selling for $12,650. And that coin wasn't pristine. It had wear, it had scratches, but it had one thing no other penny had. It wasn't a penny at all. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Because there's chatter, serious, confirmed chatter about a 19860 copper planchet penny. You see, after 1982, copper planchets were phased out, but that doesn't mean every blank was removed from the system. Some copper cores sat around in bins, others got stuck in machinery, and there is evidence that a handful of 19860 Lincoln cents were accidentally struck using leftover copper blanks, making them composition errors of the highest order. One was confirmed to weigh 3.11 grams, the exact weight of a pre-1982 copper penny. That single coin, ungraded but authenticated, sold for over $8,500. Another, in red-brown circulated condition, hit $11,000. That's right, 11 grand for a coin most people wouldn't look at twice. So what should you look for in your 19860? Start with the weight. A standard zinc penny should weigh 2.5 grams. If it weighs close to 311, you could be looking at a forbidden copper strike. Next, check the color. Does the coin look dull red or dark brown instead of the usual golden copper tone? Flip it and examine the edges. Any flaking or silver colored spots could signal a split plate error, and that's big money. Also check the rim. Is it thick on one side, thin on the other? You may be holding a misaligned die strike, and that's another serious rarity. It's coins like this, the ones no one checks, that end up becoming the most valuable of all. The 19860 isn't rare in quantity, it's rare in quality. And when you find the right kind, you don't just have a coin, you have a mystery, a mint mistake, and possibly a small fortune in the palm of your hand.